Good morning, guys. By now, you can probably tell that I am positively obsessed with the power of the human mind. One of the things I heard before, I've read it over and over in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, is this. The number of lines that connect all the different brain cells, neurons in our brain is represented by the number 1 followed by 15 million zeros. So the number 1 million has 6 zeros. The number 1 billion has 9 zeros. Now try to follow that pattern and imagine. That is phenomenal to me. When I heard that, the scientists have figured that out, and they've realized that the human mind has interconnections, and they're all organized in an organized fashion, and they make astronomical numbers look minuscule. I thought, wow, we all have the most powerful thing in the universe. Hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
Add small goals. Now, if that doesn't work, like if you can't make the goals small enough to achieve, it might be that you're not being humble enough with regards to your conceptions of your own ability. But you can tell if the goal that you put forward is a reasonable one if you're actually implementing it. Because if you're not, then by definition, it's not a reasonable goal. Like let's say you're sleeping all the time and your room is just a bloody complete disaster. And you think, well, I should clean up my room. It's like, well, maybe you can't, but maybe tomorrow you could hang up 2 shirts, or you could move 2 shirts from your bedroom to the laundry room, or you could bag up a bag of dirty clothes that you could conceivably take to a laundromat. And you just do that one thing, If your room's a catastrophe and you do that one thing and then you did one thing like that for 15 days or 20 days, maybe your place would be in order. And so the trick is to get the trajectory right.
Okay, good guys, listen, I disagree. Do not make reasonable goals, make SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T. That way your goals are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and they're time bound. Because realistic, what was the thing again? Reasonable, that doesn't work. You gotta have a system. They gotta be SMART goals. Because anyone can make any type of reasonable goals, that's why you don't get them achieved. Once you make your SMART goals, then commit to your SMART goals. I'm heading over to Evan and Drew next. Let's go!
What do you got, Drew? Well, so I'm pretty sure what he was trying to get at is if you're having trouble getting your goals done, you're probably trying to do too much with your goals. So he's really getting it at the essence of how do I shrink this down to the minimum step to get to the next step so that you can continue to build on that chain and get those wins.
Yeah, I mean, think at the beginning. If you're having a hard time getting started, I think the biggest thing people are missing is usually just momentum. It's like a lot of times people create these giant goals and they don't believe that they can do those giant goals. So the big goal is awesome. I like dream big and act small. Big goal, what you're trying to change the world. I want to solve the world's biggest problem. People don't believe themselves enough, right? And act small. It's like, what are you going to do right now, today, to make progress? We're here in Las Vegas at an event. We had a couple extra hours, I guess, before we had to go. Like, you know what? Let's make some content. So we've got this camera jigged up against a pole, like a light, and we're sitting here in my hotel room because it's the only quiet spot we could find at the resort here, and we're looking out a window. And so for everybody who's trying to get there, they got this big goal of I want to be a YouTuber. I want to get my YouTube channel going. We're here at a Grow with Video live conference. There's gonna be a lot of people here who want to start their YouTube channel, and they're stuck in their head with all the things they think they have to have, right? Like I have to have the perfect camera and perfect light and perfect gear and everything. And we're here in my hotel room with no microphone, with a phone attached to a light, and we press record and we go, right? And so it's like the big goal of where you want to go and the world you want to create, and like what are you doing right now? Because the idea alone isn't enough, and the plan alone certainly isn't enough. And the biggest thing I think most people are missing is just momentum.
Commitment, momentum, set your SMART goals, no milestones, and everything that these guys just said.
Okay, so first step. What's the first step? Somebody's got a big goal. Think about somebody coming here. They got a big goal. I want to launch my YouTube channel. I want to build with video. I got Dan's getting hot. The heat is turning up. I feel like I have to sit extra tall here.
Because it's Vegas, baby.
Anyway, okay. So somebody's at the beginning of their journey. They've got this giant goal, and all they're doing is stuck in planning. They're planning to plan. They're getting ready to get ready. What do they have to do, guys?
What's the first action step you could take right now? So that creates the momentum. It's taking the action. So what can you act on right now to get you closer to your goal? So start taking action now, and that takes you closer to your momentum, and that creates momentum. And the biggest thing is you got to commit to that.
Okay, Drew?
All you have to do is decide what you're going to do and just start doing it. A lot of times we feel like there is a transformation that has to happen, but a lot of times the transformation is really just in the action of doing the things to move toward what it is you're trying to achieve. You know, if you're trying to build a 1 million subscriber YouTube channel, if you're not taking the time to just shoot that first video and getting that sucky video out of the way, then you're just holding yourself back until you actually take the moment to hit the record button and say, I'm gonna do this. You aren't gonna give yourself the win that you need to take that first step.
Zane wants to get back in. He's itching.
No, this is good. This is good. I mean, again, you know, like you said, you got to get started. You got to take the action. And worst case scenario, if you can't take the action yourself, get someone to help you take the action. Because we get more done with other people than by ourselves. So you just got to start. You got to take action.
Yeah, the first step feels so big. It feels so big. But then once you actually take that first step, it's a lot easier just to keep going. Don't make the first step some giant impossible thing that now you need a huge team and venture capital and all of this stuff to get started. The first step is going to be small. It's going to suck.
Ooh, I like
It's going to
that.
make you sweat.
Yes.
And go and make it. And then when somebody asks me, well, how did you feel about that thing that happened yesterday, that video that sucked yesterday, or whatever we put out? I said, I don't know, because I'm worried about the next thing. Because you're building momentum towards the next thing. Zan's shaking. I don't know if he wants to,
good.
I don't know if he wants to join in, or he's just
I do want to join in.
get an
This is
amen
good.
or something. I
This
don't know
is
what's
good.
happening over here. But it's like you're so stuck on the thing having to work that then we stop the momentum. So if today's video sucks, who cares? You're building tomorrow's video, and then the next video, and the next video, and each one you'll get better.
And guys, one more thing. Please be okay, because you may get it wrong before you get it right.
You will get it wrong before you get it right.
That's right. And you're going to suck before you succeed. But make it okay, because we fell our way to success. How do you know how to walk? You fell down first as a little kid. You got back up, fell down, got back up. Now you can walk. How do you know how to run? You fell down. You know the process. This is a process. Success is a process. So it's okay to fail before you succeed. You're going to fail your way into success. So you're going to get it wrong before you get it right, but you're going to get it right if you keep doing it. So keep taking action.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Good morning, everybody. Our top 10 rules for success journey brings us to Robert Kiyosaki, who in his second rule for success shares his wisdom and says that we should give more. The more we give, the more we receive. And again, this is a universal principle. We find it in every aspect of our lives. But it can be kind of counterintuitive when we're trying to get what we want, right? So I want us to remember this today and each and every day. The more work you give, the more time you give, the more you give to understand someone else, the receive in the long run, because the very thing that you are giving to other people is the thing that connects us all. And so when you give, you're also enriching yourself. You're giving of yourself, and that's enriching you, the character. So remember that. Hope that helps everyone. Have a great day.
I think a lot of people believe that if they try something and it doesn't work, that's it. How many people do we all know that have some sort of hobby? Some of them are working these jobs they really, really hate, and then they're coming home and they're going to their workshop or their garage or their kitchen, and they're tinkering and they're building and they're making stuff. And how many of those people, if they had the audacity or had a little nudge or a little push, would actually say, you know what, that's my life's work. That's what I want to do. I want to spend my time doing that stuff and sharing my gift with the world. I think what's holding back an explosion of entrepreneurship is we as a society generally don't embrace failure the way we probably should. And that, I think, is how you build really large, impactful companies.
Believe Nation, welcome back. I have a very special guest with me today, Harley, who is the president of Shopify, also has a new company called Firebelly Tea. Welcome aboard, man.
Thanks for having me. This is very exciting. I love your hoodie, by the way. Very cool.
Branded. We got the airplane. This for me, this is actually related. So like entrepreneurship to me is where we're the paper airplane kind of taking off into the wind. We're not the jet plane with all the resources, and we kind of hit the wind and the turbulence, but we still are trying to get to a different place.
It also is just to sort of beat up the metaphor a little bit more. It also, what's interesting about that particular metaphor, I think, is that the paper airplane, you know, the cost of failure is not that big. And then as you get larger and larger, the cost of failure sort of goes up, but it sort of insinuates that in the early days of building a business, that's the time for you to take chances, to pivot, to try new things. Because again, if you lose one paper airplane, you just grab another piece of paper. Whereas when you get into sort of the jet territory, that becomes a lot more challenging.
There you go. I like that, man. I might borrow that.
Take it, steal it. It's all yours.
To expand the analogy. I love that. Entrepreneurs, man, why do you care so much?
Oh, I mean, where do I start? Maybe I'll start on the personal side. I mean, entrepreneurship is sort of just baked into my DNA, the DNA of my family. We are a family of immigrants. We came to Canada in '56 from Hungary, post, Holocaust survivors, made their way to Hungary. Hungarian Revolution happens. Not a very good time to be in Hungary. Canada, fortunately, let in 40,000 Hungarian immigrants at the time. My family moves here. And they don't know the language. They don't speak the language. They don't have any money. They have no real transferable skills, but they were able to start selling, in my family's case, eggs. And they set up a little stall at a farmer's market in Montreal and started selling eggs. So in many ways, I mean, my grandfather who sold those eggs didn't call himself an entrepreneur. But entrepreneurship was the tool that he used to provide for the family, to put food on the table and put a roof over their head. And then fast forward, 50 or 60 years later, in the early 90s, I'm 13 years old. I want to be a DJ. No one would hire me because I didn't know how to DJ. Why would they hire me? I started a little DJ company and hired myself and was able to DJ like 500 parties. When I'm 17, I was living in South Florida with my family, moved back to Montreal to go to McGill. Family loses all our money. Once again, pull out that tool called entrepreneurship and start selling t-shirts and lo and behold, was able to pay for tuition, help my mom and sisters. My dad wasn't around at that point. So entrepreneurship on a very personal level has always been, I believe, the greatest tool in my life, my family's life to solve problems. And then when you sort of expand it beyond just me on a personal level, but looking more sort of, on a global level, entrepreneurship has been this incredible thing that we as humans have used to create value, to solve problems, to find our life's work, to create our own versions of success, whether that's, sending our daughter to ballet lessons, or it's, building a $40 or $50 billion company. So in many ways, the Venn diagram of my personal interest and my professional interests I'm really fortunate because they very much overlap, and that overlap is entrepreneurship. And today, as we sit here and talk, Evan, every 30 or so seconds, a brand new entrepreneur gets their very first sale on Shopify. And I've devoted my entire life, and will devote my life, to helping create more of those first sales.
I love it, man. And I'm based in Toronto, Canada, so you've been such a huge success story for us,
Thank you.
but also just the entire entrepreneur community. Talk about the decision to now share a message, right? So you're not just the kind of president, CEO behind the scenes making things happen, but you're making content, you're posting on Instagram, you're coming on shows. What's the goal with all of that?
In my world, and I think your world, and I think a lot of your listeners and the people that watch your incredible show, Evan, I think most of us are sort of steeped in this idea that entrepreneurship is something we can do. If you go to, meetups or startup events or tech conferences, or, you're on Reddit or Twitter or Instagram, there's a lot out there that is that is sort of entrepreneurship related. But I think sometimes we forget that the vast majority of the world, entrepreneurship is not perceived as something that is accessible. Most people perceive it as either too expensive or too complicated or too difficult. It is not something that is as prominent or features as prominently in most places like it does in the case of you and I, like the Canadian technology or the Canadian startup world. I don't know how many friends you have that are entrepreneurs. I have tons. My dad's an entrepreneur. My grandfather's an entrepreneur. My best friends are entrepreneurs. My wife's an entrepreneur. My kids are setting up little lemonade stands inside our house, yeah. Right? Yeah, it's in Ottawa here, and selling lemonade, and trying to teach them about, costs of goods sold and how they think about profitability and how they think about marketing and sales and all that. But that is not the case in most places. And you see this simply by the amount of people that, that go to university, not because they want an education, but because they want that piece of paper to then go and get a job with it. And so part of what I think my life's work is, beyond just, helping to build this wonderful, I think the greatest engine for entrepreneurship is Shopify, unequivocally. I don't say that because of the president of Shopify. I say that because before I worked at Shopify, 15 years ago, I was a merchant on Shopify. I sold t-shirts on Shopify as one of the first merchants when I was in law school. But the vast majority of people do not believe it's accessible. So I think that I'm uniquely positioned and have a unique responsibility to share those stories, those anecdotes, and try to get more people to think about entrepreneurship. Think about this just as a mental model, just for a second. How many people do we all know that have some sort of hobby? They make, beautiful ceramics, or they, build beautiful figurines like I have back here, or they make incredible, chicken soup, like my mom does, matzo ball soup. And not all those people should commercialize those hobbies to become entrepreneurs. But some of them should. Some of them are working these jobs they really, really hate. And then they're coming home at 5 o'clock or whenever they come home. And they're going to their workshop or their garage or their kitchen, and they're tinkering and they're building and they're making stuff. And how many of those people, if they had the audacity or had a little nudge or a little push, would actually say, you know what? That's my life's work. That's what I want to do. I want to spend my time doing that stuff and sharing my gift with the world. That nudge, that push, I take that very seriously. And I believe that I might be able to encourage more people to try their hand at it. And therefore they may find their own unique versions of success, and they may find their life's work. And if I can be valuable in that way, and I can share some of that with the world, that's what I should be doing.
I love that. You're getting your kids starting lemonade stands is how I started. I think how a lot of us started, but you're teaching your daughter about cost of goods sold, just making her.
Well, I mean, we're at this point, we're living in an inflationary environment right now, and lemons are getting more expensive. So she needs to know we have to charge more money for lemonade, and she should understand why we should charge more people for lemonade.
I love it. No, it's great. You've kind of eliminated the barriers to get started in selling products, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, technology is not their main thing. And so cool. You don't have to be the expert. Just open up a Shopify account and you're up and running. How important is community to it? Because you mentioned you've got all your friends and family and your wife, are entrepreneurs. What is Shopify doing around the community side of things? And maybe where are you going with community so that entrepreneurs can be connected together?
Yeah. I think about community in two sort of buckets. The first bucket is just the economy of scale. So we don't really talk about this very often, but if you were to pretend that Shopify was a single retailer just for a second, like one single, if you combine every one of our stores, we have millions of stores, but pretend they were one store. That one store would be the second largest online store in America.
That's crazy.
After Amazon, and well above, Target or Best Buy or Walmart.com or any of those others. So that means that you, as a Shopify merchant today, you are able to build a unique independent business that is yours, your brand, your business, you own it. But at the same time, you can leverage these economies of scale on things like payments or shipping or capital or technology or infrastructure for that matter, anything for that matter. So that's part of the, by being part of the Shopify ecosystem or community, you immediately, even though you yourself may be a small business, you are now able to leverage the much larger benefits of being part of this community. And that allows you to compete better. That allows you, entrepreneurship is still difficult. Most small businesses fail. But what we're trying to do is simply try to change that direction just as much as we can, which is still, not that much, because again, entrepreneurship is hard, but we think we can make your likelihood of success a little bit easier. And again, if you're reselling someone else's products, or you're a drop shipper, or you're a creator, and you're not making very many things, that additional 20 basis points or 10 basis points or 40 basis points on credit card processing rates, that makes a big difference. Or your ability to get shipping labels from, any of the big shipping companies at the same rate, at the same price that 10 years ago, the biggest companies on the planet were getting, that makes a difference too. So that's part of the sort of community side. The other part of the community side is just entrepreneurship can be a lonely endeavor. It's not, you tend to do it by yourself. And so one of the things we try to foster through things like, for example, Shopify Spaces, which we have one in New York, we have one in Los Angeles, where any entrepreneur can just drop in, or the Shopify forums, or any of the Shopify, online communities, whether it's on Facebook or it's on Twitter, Instagram. We try to facilitate more of that community feel, even though everyone's running their own independent business. And I think the cool part about running a business in 2022 relative to, 1922 or 1822 for that matter, is there was a sense in previous generations of entrepreneurs that things were zero sum, meaning if you made more, someone made less. And that often was because if you were in a physical, let's say you were in a town square 100 years ago, and there was a baker there, and you open up a bakery, there's the total addressable market of that for that bakery is pretty clear. It's the people that live there that want to buy bread, who can afford bread. So if you open a bakery and there's another bakery down the street, you may make more money and that other baker makes less money. But that's not the way modern business works. Modern business is fundamentally positive sum, meaning you may find a niche or a geography or a demographic or a community that other baker never even encountered because it wasn't obvious. So maybe your bakery on the internet, which has, effectively a total addressable market of anyone with an internet connection and a credit card. Maybe the other bakery does well, but you make, your bakery is, you have cookies in the shapes of dinosaurs, or something my kids are really into right now for some reason. So that baker's making cookies, but you're making like dinosaur cookies, and like people that want dinosaur cookies on the internet, if you combine everyone that wants it, that's actually a real, that's a real audience. So we try to facilitate community, not just because we think it's important from a competitive advantage for these entrepreneurs. You combine a bunch of tiny little lights, you get the sun. That's important from an economies of scale perspective, but also because entrepreneurship is difficult and lonely. And if we want to be the entrepreneurship company, we very much do. I think we have the best shot at being that globally. We also have to facilitate those types of connections and relationships.
What I love is if somebody is, watching this and they're the only entrepreneur in their family and they've got this crazy idea to start a business and nobody else believes in them, and they set up on Shopify and they see somebody else who made their first 10K on Shopify or 100K or $1 million on Shopify. It's like, they made $1 million selling dinosaur cookies. Like maybe I can
It changes everything. I mean, a lot of what I talk about, whether it's on social media or it's on earnings calls, is I talk about Shopify, of course, but I really try to focus on the Ben Francis Gymshark story, or the Richard Fashion Nova story, or the Tim and Joey Albert story, or the Trina and Heather Fig story. I try to focus on these stories or David Bombas, of these stories of people that started at their mom's kitchen table with an idea, and a concept and a product. And in many cases are now, publicly traded multi-billion-dollar companies, and they are owning their industry. I mean, they're like, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect they're at some board meeting inside of Nike, someone brought up the challenger and the risk of Gymshark. That's an unbelievable thing that, a college dropout from London who was selling pizza or delivering pizza, I should say, is now being considered to be a real insurgent relative to the incumbent of Nike. That's an amazing thing. And those are stories I want to tell more of, because again, I'm not saying everyone's going to build their own Gymshark, but not everyone has to. Ben Francis really wanted to build a very large scale apparel company. He wanted to change an industry. He felt that there was no great clothing for that particular niche. So not people that necessarily go to the gym that are bodybuilders, and not people doing yoga. There's something in the middle, and he felt that market was underserved. And so he wanted to solve that underserved problem. But, Mike D from Durham, North Carolina, who's a friend of mine, who makes Mike D's barbecue sauce, he doesn't necessarily want to build a $1 billion brand. He loves making barbecue sauce and sharing barbecue sauce with his community and the people that he loves. And he wants it to, allow him and his wife and his 2 daughters to have a great life. And by the way, Mike D's barbecue sauce is fantastic. It's just shout out to that brand. But his definition of success is fundamentally different than Ben Francis' Gymshark is. And that's okay.
How do you calibrate the impact? This is something I struggle with personally, right? We've had almost 500 million people watch the videos. I don't know what that number means. It feels hard to connect to. All of your stores combined, it's the second largest retailer. It's just, how do you calibrate the impact that you're actually having on the world?
The second largest retailer in aggregate is a cool one. The other one that I love is, that every 30 seconds or so, a new entrepreneur gets their first sale. That's a big one too. But one way to do it is, I think the best companies create opportunities for others instead of just conquering them. And so for Shopify, that means for every dollar, this is a real stat, for every dollar in revenue that Shopify made last year in 2021, our merchants made $38. So what we're trying to do is, we've been lowering the barriers to entry into entrepreneurship for, I think actually today's our 16th birthday, Shopify's 16th birthday, which is kind of cool. We've been lowering these barriers for 16 years. And then if you even go beyond just our merchants, you look at our partner ecosystem. Our partner ecosystem supported something like 650,000 jobs and generated $32 billion in revenue in 2021. That's up 45% since the prior year. So, I think there's that term, the Bill Gates line, in terms of, you have an ecosystem, a real ecosystem, when you create more value for others and you capture for ourselves, or when you capture for yourself. Shopify has that. We have that in spades. And we look at that from a partner perspective, but also from a merchant perspective. And then you also kind of think about, from an impact, can we try to not just grow our piece of the pie? So if the pie is the amount of entrepreneurs in the world, we can grow our piece of the pie by ensuring more entrepreneurs use Shopify. I mean, we should do that. We've been doing that. But what if we actually grow the pie itself? What if we convince more people to try their hand in entrepreneurship that wouldn't otherwise do so? And that, I think, is how you build really large, impactful companies and real businesses, not necessarily just by taking a bigger piece of the pie, but by growing the pie itself.
How do you bring that momentum or sense of urgency or sense of impact that you're having to then the people on the team? If someone's just working kind of back-end engineering, working on the next feature, is layers removed from the customers and the stories, how do you as a leader ensure everybody feels like what they're doing every day actually matters?
You don't remove them. You make sure that every single person at Shopify spends time talking to merchants, which they do. You make sure that as part of the onboarding of joining Shopify, you build a store, you use the product, you ensure that as part of onboarding and as part of your tenure at Shopify, you jump on the phones and take support calls. You ensure that people at Shopify, speak to entrepreneurs in their community. I mean, when COVID hit, we encouraged everyone at the company, I think at the time we were, close to 10,000 people, to go out to their communities and figure out how we can help. And so, I think a week or two post COVID hitting, May 2020, we had a hack days, and you saw people creating, gift card products so that, their service-based business in their community can start selling on Shopify and make some money. You saw people creating, grocery functionality. So if you couldn't go to the grocery store, consumers can, or a small grocer can start selling to any consumer. You don't create this separation between frontline and back office. Rather, you make everyone deeply aware of the mission. The second thing you do is, and this is not, I don't think anything that's going to be, overly provocative or interesting, but it's the truth. The vast majority of people at Shopify self-identify as entrepreneurs. I mean, you mentioned, Firebelly. The reason I started Firebelly, I mean, I love tea. I love starting new things. I don't have exactly all the time in the world to do these things, but it felt to me that the last online business that I started was in 2006. And I felt that I wanted to really understand in a very deep and with real empathy, not like, I know what it's like to be an entrepreneur, like understand what it's like right now to be an entrepreneur. And the best way I could have done that, which makes me think better at my role as the president of Shopify, is to start a brand new business. And so that's why we launched Firebelly Tea in November. And that's not that interesting, or that's not that unique. It's not like, it wasn't a big deal that I launched Firebelly because so many people at Shopify have their own online stores as well. Bush Pump's a really good example of that. David Gaylord built that. He was on the support team at Shopify, and it's like, it's a real big business now. Bathorium, there's so many of these, Tease Tea by Sheena Brady. There's all these incredible entrepreneurs at Shopify who work at Shopify who also have great businesses. That's how you ensure that you don't just talk about mission, but the mission is actually embedded into the culture of the company and the people that work there.
Yeah, I'm finding I'm starting.
Good morning, everybody. Living, laughing, and loving our way to infinite mind wealth. This is our 4th episode. I want to share with you how I laugh at myself. Here I am right now in front of the camera, trying to get a positive message out to you. I got to tell you, and now I can laugh at it. When I first got on to do my first video, and actually it still happens, but not as much, I'm proud to say, my heart would start to pound. Like, I mean pound. I thought it was just going to come out of my chest. And when I think about it, I laugh at it now, and I hope you can laugh with me. It's amazing that what is going on in our mind, like there's no threat. There's nothing threatening me right now, nothing. But in my mind, there must be something, or is still something, or was something that is making me feel like there's a threat. But it's not real. And I can tell you each and every day, I'm winning, and so can you. So please remember that, laugh at me. And remember, when your heart pounds, you're on the verge of something great. Have a great day, everybody.
The single most important gift in the world, in my mind, is the gift of communication. The greatest tool of influence all leaders have is communication. You cannot influence where you cannot communicate. It's impossible. So learning to communicate is a critical skill for any of you who think of yourselves as leaders. Of course, learn to communicate. But if you were to learn to communicate, the question becomes, communicate for what purpose? What's the outcome? 99% of the time, the reason we human beings communicate is to either get somebody to do something we want them to do, or to get somebody to see something we want them to see. So either I want you to take action, or I want to change your perspective. But either way, to do both of these things, I need to communicate. I need to influence. I need to, as the language says, persuade.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Vusi Tembekwayo, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, take that step.
Everybody is starting at 0. Everybody. So you're watching this, and you've got that business idea that you've been thinking about forever, but you haven't done it. You're watching this, and there's that qualification, that certification, that degree you've been thinking of going after, but you're not doing it. You're watching this, and there's that person you've had a crush on forever, but you don't think that they would ever date you. You know the one? You know that person where you put your profile on private on Instagram so that you can stalk them and they don't see that you're watching all their stories? You know yourself, comrade. You know yourself. You know who you are. You're watching this and you're wondering if you're good enough. The company you work at has got a job posted and there's a promotion and you think you can do that job, but you just don't know if you're good enough. I came to tell you two things. The first thing I want to tell you is when it comes to pursuing new opportunities, everybody starts at zero. Everybody, make sure you're the most prepared. The second thing I want to tell you is when the noise is ringing in your head about how you don't belong in that room, the only way to quieten that noise is to focus on the things you do control and the things you can do. So for the entrepreneurs right now who are wondering if your business is going to improve, focus on the next proposal you're sending out. Focus on the next client with whom you're in a sales call with. Focus on the next presentation you have to prepare. Focus on the next candidate you're trying to hire. Focus on next. Because you don't have to know where the lift goes. You just have to know that if you take one step up the stairway, sooner or later, you're going to end up exactly where the lift ends up, all the way at the top.
Rule number 3, own your faults.
Own it. Own your misgivings, own your faults, own your fears, own your doubt, own your screw-ups. Own it. I screwed up. It was my mistake. I'm sorry. Own that stuff. For most of us, we don't like owning our faults because then it means that we have to fix them. Own it. I'll tell you guys an interesting story about a fault that I had to own. I hired the wrong people. For one of my businesses, this is, by the way, I've got to tell you guys an interesting truth. I don't hire people anymore. I've decided that I'm not the most effective person to hire people. So what I've done is I've hired people who are really good at hiring people, and I leave them to make the call. I don't interfere and I don't get involved. And the reason for this is when I hire people, I see who people can be at their best. I believe in people's potential. And over the years, I've learned that people are not who they are at their best. Often they are who they are at their worst. If somebody has a sense of malevolence or darkness or any sense of evil, if somebody is serial liar, if somebody is malicious so they want to destroy, trust me, if they're doing that in their personal life or in any other element of their life, they're going to bring that stuff to work. They might not show it at the interview, but they're definitely going to bring it to work. And so over the years, I've learned I'm not the best person to hire. And I learned just hiring the wrong people and watching something I had built almost destroyed. And it took me 18 months, if not more, of hard, long hours and slog to rebuild that business. Now, the only way I was able to do the 18 long months, 19, was because I owned up to the fact that we ended up in the position we ended up in because I made those decisions. I made those calls. I did. I own that. And I remember as we were rebuilding that business and new partners came on board and the rest of it, the conversation came up about, what happened to business X version 1.0? And I was like, no, exact words I used was I f***ed it up. I hired the wrong people, and those wrong people chased away the right people. Because here's how things work. If you have a Premier League soccer team with 22 players on, exclude the coaching staff, and you hire 3 people into that team who are malicious, they're gossipers, they're liars, and they destroy. Of the 22 people, I guarantee you those 3 people will change the odds. Because the first thing they'll do is they'll turn the good people against each other. And good people are good people. So what do? They believe everything the malicious people say. This is why psychopaths are so successful. It's precisely why psychopaths are so successful. You don't believe me? Go and read Jordan Peterson's book. He talks about this. And so the three people will turn. And in a year, you will end up with one of two scenarios. Either a soccer team that doesn't have all of the team it needs, because when people left, you didn't replace them. Or, worse, you will end up with a soccer team where of the 22 people, there's now only 3 left who are good. And all the other good ones have left. And the other 19 is the riffraff and the rubbish that the bad people bring with them. I said this to the young mentee, and I'll end with this, who asked me the question, how do you build trust? I said the following. I said, the universal truth is that God works through people. So does the devil. Think about that.
Rule number 4, solve problems.
Sometimes the solution is predicated by how we think and understand the problem. Can you help me now and jump forward now that I've covered this? Sometimes the solution is predicated by how we think and understand the problem set that we're solving. Think and understand the problem set that you're solving. So here's a question for you that I'd like for you to make a note for yourself. Here's the question. What problem are you solving? What problem are you solving? Subtitle question, who told you that that was the real problem? Who told you that that was the real problem? What problem are you solving? And who told you that that was the real problem? Who told you that that was the real problem? I keep referencing my brother Julian because I think he and I are so aligned. He said something earlier about the number of startups that are failing, right? I think actually that what really happens in that experiment you were talking about is startup founders are figuring out that the problem they were solving is not the problem to be solved. That's actually really, if you think, that's all innovation is, isn't it? Innovation is the presumption of a problem, seeking a solution to it, and then figuring out that that's not the real problem. And so you keep asking the question, what is the problem, until you find it? Until you actually find it. What is the problem that you're solving? What is the problem that you're solving? All of this comes down to that point I made earlier, that singularity, that you have to be able to fall in love.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, overcome self-doubt.
I wanted to come into your